you can see her right there. Jody Riddle joins us. She's the author of a book called The Sin of Angels. And this is such a cool book because it takes us back in time, which is my favorite, right? So we're going back to like 1870. And wait till you hear this story and wait till you hear how this story started and how Jody pulled it all together. So, Jody, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Let's talk about, first of all, how this all came about, because I think this is such a big part of the story, what you found and how you brought it to life.
Let me show you.
Ooh, it's a big reveal, everybody. Wait till you see this. Hold that up a little bit more for us to see. Wow. That is a manuscript that was sent in by your grandfather, right?
hmm The,
Incredible. And this is, I mean, you have to go back to what, the 60s?
oh, yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
he wrote this book, or he was writing this book, and he came up with it back then, and he submitted it.
Yes. And here's one of the first pages. He submitted
Wow.
he submitted it to Doubleday,
Wow. Incredible.
and they red marked what he needed to do. And it's all this thin, yeah, what do they call it? Onion paper, like kind of like onion paper
Yeah,
almost.
it's like onion paper, sure, the old typing paper.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And then you, as the story goes, as you were telling me off air, you found this, right?
Yes, I found it in my parents' garage in the attic.
Wow. In the
And I
attic.
thought, yeah, in the attic. And I thought, what is this? And I asked my sister, she goes, I don't know. So I said, huh. We knew nothing about it. My mom and dad didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
They just moved it from place to place. So I thought, I'm going to take a look at it. And so I brought it home and started looking at it, and I started reading it. And it was, it was almost like 1,200 pages. It was
Wow.
huge. And I got my mother in law, who loves to read, and she reads all kinds of novels and things. I said, would you take this and read it and tell me if you think it should be published? So she said, sure, I will do that, Jody, just for you. And it took her a week to read it. And she said, you're my daughter-in-law. I love you. And I wouldn't be saying this, but this is probably the best novel I have ever read. And I said, really? She said, yes, you need to get it published.
Wow.
Yes. So that started it there because I didn't know what it was about, and I didn't want to have to go through it, and I was raising my children and working. So I thought, well, if she thinks I need to start on it, I'll do that. So it took me 2 years to edit it, to retype everything, and submit it.
Jeez. Incredible. Incredible. So take us through that journey. So now, was it wild to just, you like you had to be in your grandfather's head and you're just reading this. That is so cool.
It was because I remember as a child, he loved to tell us stories. Big, big storyteller. Loved to read. And that really made me think about my childhood and my upbringing with him. And I could see him doing this. The other thing too is he did add a few realistic um, situations that I was familiar with, and
Right.
you know, and and he did tell me as well as a child that his grandparents and his aunts and uncles always sat outside, were on the rocking chair, and they would tell stories, just about life. And I believe that he probably took all that in and started this book, this manuscript.
Yeah. Wow, it's so cool. So tell us about the Sin of Angels. Tell us more about the story.
The story's about a aristocratic family lived in the plantations in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So it's all in the Mississippi River Valley. It all takes place in the states there, and it's about a set of twins, identical twins, that the Marquands. Bertrand was the husband, Dorothy was the wife. They had a set of identical twin boys. And the only way you could tell them apart was one had a little mole on his face, and one was double jointed, but that was it. And their personalities were like night and day. One was evil and sinister and like narcissistic behavior, while the other one was a total opposite, loyal, respectful, would do anything in the world for you, the best child. So you had these two competing with one another. And as the story continues, it talks. He reflects a lot on behavior and how today, if you read this book, which I hope you do, um, you can you can see your own situation. It's this was written in the early '60s. It happens today. It's not going away. It's
Right.
like a true to life situations.
Right.
And anybody who reads it knows that, oh, I know somebody like that, or I have a relative like that, or I know exactly why they're doing what they're doing, their behaviors.
Right.
And as they're getting older and growing up and moving out and doing their own thing, you can see that narcissistic behavior in John, who is the evil twin,
Right.
and follow him through life. And the twists and turns that he takes is it's like you're sitting on your seat wondering what's going to happen next, and he involves his brother at some points, being the evil child he is, manipulating his brother and his parents and getting them involved in trying to get him involved in the bad behavior part,
Right.
you know. So it's just a family novel, and it's just and it also includes the slaves. So, Sally was in love with Edward, who is the good child, the obedient child, and knew exactly what he knew what he was doing, but he didn't realize that he wasn't supposed to be doing that, you know. And that puts a lot of shame on the plantation, on the aristocratic families, And when you read it, you understand where they're going with that, you know
Right.
and we do that ourselves today, in life. You know, we don't want to be frowned upon. We don't want to be mixed up in any kind of, you know,
Controversy.
yeah, controversy, right? And so it follows that path along the way. Lots of characters in it. Marchands they had a big plantation. They had a lot of acreage and farms, and did a lot of timber. And Mr. Marchand was a lawyer, big lawyer, and a judge, and out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. And he would go to Louisville, and he would go to Evansville. He would travel places that you're familiar with, like I was familiar with. So it really, it's kind of, I don't know. It you can see that, you can feel that, that the feelings and the emotions, that are poured out.
Sure. When people read the book, what do you hope, and which you can get on Barnes and Noble,
Mhm.
any obviously Amazon, wherever great books are sold, The Sin of Angels. What do you hope their big takeaway is? And you're saying it really in this conversation.
That this is really true to life.
Yeah.
It is really, even though it's a fiction, parts of it are nonfiction, but he actually, emotionally, mentally, this is how we live. This is our behavior. We
Yeah.
all experience this, you know one way or another. And our norms, our society norms, are the same too. We don't want, we have to behold, upkeep our status. We don't want people look down on us. But it's something everybody can read. Everybody can associate with the characters in the book, and it's a very easy read. It flows great, and you're always on the edge of your seat constantly.
What was it like for you to, after you did this, find this incredible project, go through it, and then to have it published? What was that feeling like?
I was elated. I was hoping that he was up there. Look, thank you, Jody. Thank you, because I would be the only one that would be able to publish that for him.
Right.
You know, I love reading, and this was just honestly, it was phenomenal. I was so amazed at how he could pull this off. Honestly,
What a cool thing. You got to hold that box up for us again to emphasize this is incredible. So think about this. Can you imagine if you found this from any of your relatives like Jody did, and then to get an honest opinion and then to go ahead and redo that? That's incredible.
isn't
That's
that
just, I
crazy?
mean, just looking at that is incredible to me. Yeah. And that he had enough. Look, he was you as you said, he told stories and that he came up with a story and he was fearless. Like,
Mhm,
yeah, I'm just gonna go send it in. No
mhm.
problem. Right? And that they
Just
actually, because now things are so different, that they actually looked at it unsolicited and went through it. So they weren't telling him, hey, submit again, do it again. Like they weren't discouraging him. They actually took the time and went through.
yeah, with these red ink pens
Yeah,
markings, and wrote some things down for him. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Incredible. What does the rest of your family think that they've seen, the ones that have been able to see it?
Oh, they all love it. Absolutely love it. And I've given copies out just to make sure that it wasn't me. Okay. Even though that
Right.
was my grandfather who wrote it. Uh, Everybody loved it. I mean, I've had more people, uh, acquaintances and people I don't even know, they will come back and say, that was the best book. She goes, granted, yes, it's a thick book, but it just, there's always something going on. And the twists and the turns, it's just, you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
And that's
I
the
think
thing.
your grandfather's talking to us. We lost you for a second there.
Oh,
Your camera. So he's trying to let us know, like, hey, you're holding up my book. You're telling out the world about this book and then doing it and getting it out there. I mean, just what a cool, cool thing. And I'll say it again, The Sin of Angels. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those great places. I mean, just incredible. Jody, thank you so much for coming on.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun. Yes, it's so much fun. And you're such a sweet person.
Thank you. Go get this book. Go get this book.